Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're tackling something pretty much every leader faces, whether they admit it or not: anxiety. But we're going to completely reframe how we look at it. We're going to take it from this constant, exhausting struggle and turn it into a productive, intentional dialogue using some really fascinating science-backed insights.
Okay, let's dive right into this. I love this quote because it hits the nail on the head. Anxiety is totally a double-edged sword. It's not inherently bad, and honestly, the goal isn't to magically just stop experiencing it, because, newsflash, we all do. The real question you gotta ask is whether it's acting as an engine driving your success, or if it's just a massive leak in your gas tank.
Now, quick time out here. It is absolutely crucial we make a clear distinction before moving forward. What we're exploring today is intentional well-being and everyday anticipatory anxiety. We are not talking about clinical diagnoses here. If your anxiety is severely preventing you from sleeping, working, or functioning in your relationships, that requires a completely different set of tools and professional medical support.
You know that classic image of the perfect leader? Always calm, ice in their veins, completely immune to doubt? Yeah, it's a total myth. In fact, it's a pretty harmful one. The data paints a completely different picture. High achievers actually tend to experience more anxiety, not less. Pushing boundaries and striving for excellence naturally brings on stress. So if you're feeling it, you're definitely not alone.
So, why exactly are we wired this way? Well, it all comes down to our biology. Anxiety is fundamentally a millennia-old survival mechanism. It is totally natural. Think about it. It was literally designed to keep our ancient ancestors alive by hyper-focusing their attention on immediate physical threats in their environment. So, how does this ancient wiring misfire in the modern workplace? Well, it happens in a sequence. Step one is that primary response. Your body instantly prepares to fight or flee. But step two is the modern problem. Our ancient brains often can't tell the difference between a literal predator and, say, a high-stakes email from the boss. So step three, and this is a key competence for any leader, is learning how to accurately read that alarm when it misfires. Now, what's really interesting about this is how we categorize that feeling. We toss the word anxiety around a lot, but we're often talking about very different things. State anxiety is linked to a specific temporary situation, like stepping on stage for a big presentation. It spikes, and then it passes. Treat anxiety, on the other hand, is more of a stable character tendency. It's a general disposition to feel anxious, regardless of what's actually happening in the room.
And this brings us to the real crux of the issue, the difference between anxiety that serves you and anxiety that just totally drains you. Helpful anxiety, it's concrete and limited in time. It shows up, gets you prepped, and leaps. But draining anxiety, that is diffuse. It's constant. It's that chronic background hum fueled by today's hyperconnectivity and those totally blurred boundaries between work and life. Because here's the wild part. Within certain limits, we literally need this emotion to get things done. If you have too little anxiety, you end up underperforming. There's no spark, no attention to detail. But right there in the middle, in the optimal zone, anticipatory anxiety acts as a profound leadership resource. It sharpens your thinking. Of course, push it into overload and your whole system just completely shuts down.
So, I want you to pause for just a second. Really ask yourself this pivotal question. Is your anxiety right now in your career serving you to do your best work, or is it simply draining you? To answer that honestly, you've really got to know what to look for. The signs usually fall into 4 buckets. Cognitive, that's the unstoppable rumination, the endless overthinking. Emotional is that constant, diffuse apprehension, like waiting for the other shoe to drop. Behavioral, that looks like micromanaging or literally being unable to delegate. And finally, physical. Things like tense shoulders or wrecked sleep often signal distress way before your conscious mind even realizes what's happening. Because the truth is, anxiety doesn't just live in your head. It drains multiple dimensions of your leadership capacity. Mentally, high anxiety can cause what's called an amygdala hijack. It literally shuts down the logical prefrontal cortex of your brain right when you need it the absolute most. But spiritually, it's actually a signal of our core values. Think about it. We only feel deeply anxious about the things we genuinely care about. So, the crucial point is, what do we do about it? Let's move on to the 4 pillars for anxiety in leadership, which are science-backed tools to help transform your response. All right, breaking these down really quickly. First is being, which is just having the simple awareness to actually notice your anxiety as it bubbles up. Second is we, recognizing that anxiety is incredibly contagious. If you're stressed, your team will catch it for sure.
Third is discipline. You have to practice your physical and cognitive coping tools during calm moments, not just in a crisis. And finally, positive chemistry, which means actively doing things to calm your body's biological alarm system.
It all comes down to this. Use it when it drives you, calm it when it overwhelms you, and please ask for help when you need it. By shifting from a constant struggle into an intentional dialogue, you can actually make this completely natural human emotion one of your greatest leadership assets. So the next time those internal alarm bells start ringing, are you going to let them control you? Or are you going to take charge of the volume? Keep learning, stay focused, and I'll see you in the next explainer.